Everyone, welcome to Transformational Tuesday, where in this podcast, we transform mindsets with stories, testimonies, and insights of inspiration in a real, raw, and relevant way. So, today I want to dive in with this powerful concept: feel it, but don't become it. We're all human, so feeling our emotions is completely natural. But here's the thing: there's a huge difference between feeling your emotions and letting your emotions alter your identity. So today we're going to unpack what does it mean to become your emotions and walk away with some practical strategies that you can easily implement to help you feel but not become it. What does it mean to become your emotions? Becoming your emotions means allowing them to dictate how you act, how you treat yourself, how you treat other people, and your perspective as you navigate throughout the world. It's like when anger turns into resentment or when sadness starts to define who you are. You start making choices through the lens of that one emotion, and suddenly it's not just something you feel, it starts to become your identity. I know that there are so many out there who relate and connect to that. We've all had that feeling of taking on the emotion and it becoming us. Maybe it's been in moments of stress where you felt overwhelmed, that your entire day or your week got affected. This especially happens when we're in the workplace. Somebody tells you something sideways or you're frustrated, and then the next thing you do, you're driving home, you've got road rage, and then you take it out on your family in some way, shape, or form, being snappy or what have you. That's when you've crossed the line to feeling the emotion to now becoming that emotion. I'll give you an example. I remember a time that I was in my workplace, I was aggravated and frustrated. And over time, working with certain team members, and there were folks who just weren't doing their part of the group work, right? You know what I'm talking about. So now that frustration and that aggravation later became a level of stress, right? Because I'm invested, I'm doing my part, others are doing their part. And, the people who weren't doing their part, it created an extra load for us and it just became stressful. And then over time, it didn't become stress anymore. I became stressed. And what do stressed people do? Stressed people get snappy. They have no chill. Um, the slightest thing that's like a hairpin trigger and it throws you off. So it ultimately affected my co-working relationships. It affected my friendships at that time. It affected my family. It affected my work ultimately. And even how I started seeing myself, that over time, the stress became almost a sense of hopelessness. Well, not almost, it was. It became a sense of hopelessness. Like, I'll never get over this. I'll never get through it. And I got the feeling, for me, like, oh, this something doesn't feel right. Like, what's going on? Like, I don't feel like myself. And it was because I started becoming stressed and in turn started perceiving myself as stressed and then started stressing out other people and relationships. And so it ultimately had an effect on me where I had to pause and recognize, what is this feeling? Why am I having this? Oh, wait, hold on. What is making me stressed? So I started asking myself some deeper questions that eventually got me out of that headspace and I was able to get back to normal. But in that moment, instead of acknowledging my feelings and processing them, I let stress start to define me. And so it was when I had to eventually take a step back and I had to realize that I was feeling stress. I didn't have to become stressed. I didn't have to become, mentally stressed. I didn't have to inflict stress upon other people, including the people who weren't carrying their weight. I mean, it all worked out. We eventually had to come to Jesus where we had to, my teammates, other teammates, and I had to say, look, like, we're really counting on you to do your part, and here's what we need to do. And it actually wound up being a productive conversation because that person or those two people actually had things going on in their lives that they were stressed about and hurt about, and the way they showed up for us ultimately had an impact. So I'm glad we had that conversation. And then everything from there, like our team got stronger after that. Once I accepted that I was able to shift my perspective and then reground myself, I started making choices that reflected the kind of person I wanted to be. And I say this all the time, it's all about the pause. You've got to give yourself the pause, because that's where clarity sits. That's where peace can sit to help you get your head on, get your crown on straight. So, how to feel emotions without becoming them? How do we do that? So, these practical strategies have worked for me. I'm not a mental health therapist. I have lived experiences that have helped me to develop strategies that I can name and identify, and maybe that can help you. But by all means, if you feel like you need to talk to someone and you need extra support, on our channel, we are all about mental health and physical, mental, emotional well being. Find a therapist that you trust that can help you navigate and begin the process of what we're going to talk about today. So, when I'm talking about this, I'm going to frame it from the negative emotions that a lot of us will feel. Um, I would say positive emotions you do want to embrace fully, you do want to become it. And unfortunately, a lot of times our perspectives are on the negative, or we just face a lot of negative emotions because the mindset in our society, hurt people. And so when they hurt you and they act out, right, and we act out, then that ultimately has an impact. So we're going to frame this from the space of how do we tackle our negative emotions. So the first thing that worked for me was the pause and reflect. I'm a very reflective, introspective person anyway. And so to me, everything has a comma in it. Everything needs a pause, because for the most part, everything needs a pause because you need to understand like what the blip is going on. And so when my emotions have taken rise, or when your emotions take a rise, you can take a moment to identify and acknowledge them. And so many times that's a part in our society, in Western culture, that we often don't sit long enough to identify what the emotion is. And so to really take a moment and say, I feel anger, or I feel fear, I feel joy, whatever it is, feel it fully. And then don't let it control you, right? I can feel anger without being angry, my inaction or intent. I can feel sad without being sad. The second thing that you can do after you've paused, you've reflect and acknowledged what you're feeling, is separate it from your identity. Okay. Remind yourself that you are not your emotions. You are a whole ass human being. And you're experiencing them in this earthly experience. You are experiencing your emotions. So you don't have to walk around with sadness all the time. You don't have to walk around with anger all the time, or resentment, or bitterness, or whatever the emotion is that's holding on to you, right? You can experience it. That's part of being human. And then the third thing is to channel your feelings. So instead of acting from your emotions, use them as fuel to make a positive change. So, for example, at my workspace, in one of my workspaces, I was teaching a set of students. And an incident happened, and I can talk about it at a later date, but an incident really happened that had an impact on me. It had an impact on the students. I walked away basically having the blame thrown on me for the incident, and accountability on me, of which it was just a whole misunderstanding, a whole mess. But it left me feeling very hurt and very angry. And I went through a process. I went through a heavy process of trying to, is this me? Is this projection? What could I learn from this? And the injustice of it all is what made me angry. And within that, I said, this is not productive, because I really started to become angry and I started to react to things in anger. And I said, I've got to do something to help me and to get this out and to process it. So that is why I created the Lift as We Climb workshop for Black women and femmes, and how we empower Black women in our workspaces. And also providing a space for Black women to engage and to convene and to heal and start that process. It came out of an anger and a hurt that I had to say, I cannot become this thing. I have to turn it into something that is positive. And it's had a positive impact on participants. So channeling your energy into something productive. I will say that that is a gift. Not many people can do that. And if you learn how to do that, I believe that you master your emotions. If you can take negativity and turn that and transform that into something positive, and especially that's going to help other people, you are just the best. There's nothing stopping you. That I will say is to practice mindfulness. It could be mindfulness techniques like meditation, prayer, deep breathing. It could be somatic movement in the body. Types of yoga help. You want to get it out of your body and into something else. And so to have that, a lot of times when we have, especially negative emotions, there's a disconnect between the mind and body. And that's why sometimes you hear people just like, and I know I'm going like really dark with this, but you'll get, when you watch the true crime episodes and someone just snaps, right? Their mind literally like goes somewhere else and their body like commits, the unalive someone. It's like, I just didn't know what came over me. It's like I clicked because both of them, kind of separated because we weren't in the present with our emotions. So mindfulness is going to help you to stay present. It's going to help to give you that pause to really think about and reflect what you need and what your body needs at this time. Also, mindfulness is going to help you observe your feelings without the judgment. So it's going to create a space for you where you could feel your emotions and not be swept away by them. There's a couple of people that I listen to on YouTube. There's this one lady, I don't know where she's located, but she does somatic movement. And I love her. Her name's Tamar. And she has these amazing like 5-minute videos that I do. And you laugh, you get that negative energy out of the body. It's not supposed to stay there. So today I challenge you to feel your emotions fully, but don't let them define you. Instead of becoming stress or fear or sadness or anger, choose to acknowledge those emotions and then take control of how you'll respond. Do you ever had an experience where you let your emotions take over? How did you break free? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to follow for more Transformational Tuesday talks. Thanks for tuning in to our Transformational Tuesday. If this message resonated with you, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification so you don't miss our next transformational tips. And remember, feeling is a part of being human, but becoming is a choice. So please choose wisely. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, God bless.